Chicago Blackhawks won the 2023 NHL Draft Lottery, and that's a really sad way to start up the show. Welcome. This is Without Warning with Alex and Ryan. We should have another Alex hopefully joining soon. TBD. And it was Draft Lottery Day today. 2 hours and 21 minutes ago exactly. Chicago Blackhawks won with their little 11.5% chance. And what a disgrace. Aside from the fans, I don't blame the fans. Should not be.
Yeah, you know what? Good for Chicago fans.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm not going to lump them into this, but yeah.
The organization itself.
What a miserable 24 hours. Like we had the option of starting the show with either the Leafs or the draft lottery. And I don't know which one's sadder, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I was always saying before the draft, you know, like the Vancouver organization doesn't deserve the right to select Connor Bedard, but
their fans deserve it maybe more than anyone.
Tenfold that with the Chicago Blackhawks organization. That organization does not deserve Connor Bedard. They do not deserve to have the first overall pick. They didn't deserve Adam Fantilli at second either.
Nope. They
shouldn't even have their first round pick. I mean, it's the way that the NHL handled the Kyle Beach situation to begin with was just awful. You don't need to be a super smart person to understand that.
Yeah, but
right?
Where the really
from John Cullen, Arizona holds pre-draft workouts, loses first rounder. Fair enough. New Jersey signs Ilya Kovalchuk to a contract that was legal at the time, loses first rounder. Chicago covers up SA for a decade, gets to keep their first round pick, ends up being Connor Bedard. Chicago Blackhawks are lucky, and I'll let you have your moment.
This also happened on the same day, I believe, that the Canucks were fined. How much money was it? Like $50,000 or $500,000? I don't remember, but they were fined for like
I think
holding
it was
$50K for like holding a practice after the season ended, or like a team meeting. I don't know what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, so that's where we're drawing the line.
And it's like, I mean, fair enough. If that's against the CBA, that's against the CBA. But you'd expect what the Chicago Blackhawks did to be much more against the CBA. And they were fined a lot of money. But at the end of the day, what is money to a billionaire?
It's so apparent, and I feel like these conversations have been coming up more in the playoffs with scheduling issues, officiating, all that stuff. Is that this is why this league is last out of the major sports in North America. They are like MLB, NFL, NBA. Hell, I'd even throw MLS into that at this point.
NASCAR, UFC.
NASCAR, UFC, Formula One. Who cares? The NHL is the worst league in North American sports. Bar none. It's not even close.
Public image or just selling itself? Because NFL's up there in terms of public image and what they allow.
It's selling itself, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a joke. Like, it's awful that like this was allowed to happen. The last team I wanted to see Connor Bedard go to was Chicago. Close second being Montreal, but
for me it was Chicago and then Philly. But
Philly would have been, man. Oh my God, Connor Bedard with John Tortorella as coach. I would have loved to see that. Honestly, he would put him on the fourth line.
Bedard would have like a really bad rookie season in Philly. I don't even think he could save break through Tortorella's coaching behavior.
I don't know. It's a fun hypothetical, but it's obviously not going to happen now. But yeah, I think it's disgusting. It's horrible that this was allowed to happen, and that really no one from the Chicago Blackhawks organization has really been held accountable. Like, yeah, their GM
and coach
lost his job. Quenneville lost his job. He's still getting paid. Both of them are
There's
still getting paid.
speculation. There's still speculation that Stan Bowman may find himself in an NHL coaching role next
Quenville
season.
too.
That's sorry. That's what I meant.
Okay, yeah. Hmm.
Quenville. I meant Quenville may find himself in a coaching position next year. There's rumors that maybe Bowman goes to Calgary.
Yeah.
Um, the coaching carousel is a whole other topic we could talk about at length, but
Yeah.
let's save ourselves for now. That could be a midsummer discussion when nothing's going on,
Hmm.
or when the Rangers inevitably hired a coach that's been fired 4 times. But I digress. It Okay. In other news, similar though, the Canucks were a single lottery ball away from getting Bedard. The winning draft combo for the NHL draft lottery was balls 4, 5, 9, 13. The Vancouver Canucks had lottery balls 4, 5, 9, 12. A single lottery ball
Mm.
could have saved this entire draft from being one of disgrace to one of seeing the hometown kid go to the team that he wants to go to. And now Connor Bedard is, I'm not going to say stuck in Chicago because Chicago is a good market. We just went over the issues with it. But oh, how I wish it was different.
Yeah.
But Connor Bedard in the Vancouver Canucks organization would have been so much fun. I would have been able to see him for like $100 lower
I
bowl.
would have loved. I would have loved that. I would have loved to see that. I'm not gonna lie. But man, Bedard with Pedersen. Oh God, Jesus.
Bedard with Miller, Besser, Garland, Hughes.
Mm.
And
Now that's a power play that should finish top 5 in the league. But yeah, we're never gonna see it, unfortunately. The
no.
Vancouver got what, the 11th pick?
Yeah, the 11th. And
Mm.
that's on them for winning meaningless games and going on a
Yeah, they
huge
were
heater
pretty
at the end
good
of the
down the
game.
stretch for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, what can you do? The Canucks love to screw themselves over, as they have been for a long time. Plus, they don't really get lottery luck. By the end of the day, that's all it is. It is luck.
Yeah.
To the people saying that the NHL draft lottery is rigged, it's not.
Although, um, not a great look to essentially leak that Columbus
No.
had dropped down to third.
But I
Like,
mean, it's a really bad league. But I mean, I think everybody should know that the
yeah.
lottery is already decided prior
Hmm.
to the unveiling on Sportsnet, TNT, etc.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It should be common
And
knowledge,
then
but still.
and then Kevin Weeks just got a little too excited. That was a pretty awkward draft lottery as well. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I didn't actually see any of it, but
I watched it
I,
and it just felt very awkward.
yeah, I don't really have any. The only time I ever watched the draft lottery was the year the Leafs finished last,
Mm-hmm.
and they got the first pick. Because that was the only time I really had any sort of interest in it. I might have watched like the years before when they were consistently drafting top 10 and like top 5, and they were getting Marner and
Mm-hmm.
Nylander and all that. But yeah,
I watch
whatever.
it every year because the Canucks always
Yeah,
are
they're there a
in
lot.
it. Yeah, and I tend to always be disappointed.
Yeah.
But what can you do? Now, a little bit of a right turn from the draft lottery to the playoffs. The Toronto Maple Leafs currently sit at the brink of elimination, down 3-0 to the Florida Panthers, tarnishing their best opportunity to go to the Stanley Cup Finals. I don't think that's blasphemous to say. I think that's pretty much common knowledge. The Florida Panthers are fantastic, and take it away.
Look, okay. At the time of this recording, officially it's not over.
No.
Officially, it's not over. There is a game 4 to be played on Wednesday. 9 days ago, the Leafs won their first round series against Tampa Bay. And I don't think I've ever seen so much positivity around this team, this core, and all of that. And there's a large conversation to be had about the core and the coach and the GM about all of that. We're not going to do that today, because they haven't been eliminated yet. But Man, it's just so disheartening and frankly shocking after
Mhm.
what we saw in round one for just all of these conversations about Marner, Matthews, Tavares, Nylander to an extent, but I don't really want to throw him into that.
Nylander's counting. Okay, I don't want to sound like an uncle, but William Nylander's effort, I feel, has been questionable at times. I know he generated a lot of
I
scoring
understand that.
chances.
I understand that. I'm mostly talking about last night,
Fair
game
enough.
three. When I look at all of them, he was the only guy who I think had an above average performance. He was pretty
Fair
good
enough. I
last night,
agree.
and I
I
think he had
agree.
a primary assist as well.
He did.
Um, Either way, though, like it's unbelievable to see the conversation shift so much in a week's time, and we're having the same conversations now, or at least Twitter is, um, about trading Marner, trading Nylander, like all this shit. And I gotta tell you, I'm just really sad that we're back here, even though they're not out yet. And it's literally going to take a miracle for those conversations to not happen.
Look, I've been seeing a lot of Toronto Maple Leaf fans on Twitter and platforms saying, well, if Florida just won 3 against Boston, they just won 3 against Leafs, why can't the Maple Leafs win 4 against Florida?
Look,
And
I
look,
mean, I appreciate the optimism.
I do as well. I'm like, look, if I can be that optimistic about life,
God bless your heart.
I'd be in the same place as I am now, but but I'd have a more positive outlook. That's really
Maybe
all it is.
I think we'd all be happier if we were that more optimistic, or maybe we'd just be disappointed more. I don't know.
And you know, it's
Um,
commendable. Following game 1 loss, everybody was pretty calm. I was pretty calm. Following the game 2 loss, I was worried,
yeah,
but I was like,
but
you know what? All I need to do
yeah,
is get one.
I think the reason
They're,
why I didn't feel so bad after game two is because
they played well.
I understand, saying they got goalied. It's almost a cliche at this point, but they kind of did. If it's not for Sergei Bobrovsky, they're literally up to nothing in the series. If it's not for Sergei Bobrovsky, but Sergei Bobrovsky is a member of the team for Florida,
Mm-hmm.
and he's been really good. And you know, shit happens. They lost the first two games. They probably deserved to win both, but they didn't. And then game three happens. They play their worst game of the series, probably their worst game of the playoffs, to be honest. And yet, like, you have Ryan O'Reilly giving the puck right to Matthew Tkachuk, who's in an offside position, like with 4 minutes left with your season on the line. That's a guy who just doesn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost makes me wonder, my God, like what's the problem? Like, is it the crest? Is the crest infected with something? Like, what is it? Why does this keep happening? Oh my God. Um,
Yeah.
I saw not to get even more morbid, but there was a tweet from I don't even know if I can pronounce it.
Lucian.
Lucian? Is that what it is?
It's Dom Lucian.
Lucian. Okay. You might have seen this tweet. You probably did.
Monkey's paw.
No, it's like, what's the leafiest way that the Leaf season could end?
Mm.
Get swept, doesn't matter how. Win 3 straight and get routed in game 7. Dominate game 4 and then get destroyed at home in game 5. Or come back and win the series and then get swept in the third round.
I think that has to be option 2. Come back.
Win three straight and get routed in game 7. Yeah. I think
I think the most likely one to happen is dominate game 4, get crushed on home ice in game 5. I can't see the Leafs getting swept. I think they'll get gentlemen swept. So just losing 5. Either way, it's still a loss in the second round.
I would rather see them go in 4 than have them come back home with like a little bit of hope and then it's all gone. That would be a pretty Leafy way to end it. I feel similar to the way I did, weirdly enough, because these were winner take all games going into game 7 against Montreal in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
The feeling amongst Leafs fans after game 6 of that series was they're just never going to do it. No one expected them to win game 7 that year. Mm-hmm. And they went and they laid the biggest egg you have ever seen. And they lost, I want to say they lost 3-1.
Yep.
I don't remember a single detail about that game other than Brendan Gallagher scored a goal that went through Jack Campbell's legs. That's the
I,
only thing I remember from that game.
I remember Nylander's goal.
Oh yeah, he scored in the last minute when they were down 3-0.
Yep.
I remember that when that goal went in, I burst out laughing because I was completely apathetic and just I couldn't do anything else. But for me, like my point is I almost expect them to go into game 4 after the game 3 performance. I'm expecting them to go into game 4 and be like, let's just get this over with and lose like 2-0 or something stupid or 3-0 or whatever, like just a completely lackadaisical, unmemorable game.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why maybe that won't happen is this team, if there's one thing you can say is consistent about the Toronto Maple Leafs, is they will consistently find new ways to disappoint their fan base.
Mm-hmm.
So I am expecting them to give us hope here. My bad. I'm expecting them to go in the game 4 and win. They'll come back home in game 5. Maybe they'll win that too. And if they do, then that, like, if they win the next 2 games, that's when you're like, okay, like this is possible now. And then they'll either lay an egg in game 6 or game 7, like whatever it is. It's hard to see, like, this team consistently with their backs against the wall have not
Lost. Like when their backs against the wall, when only they can be eliminated, they haven't lost.
Yeah, that's true. But my point is like when the chips are down,
that's fair.
This team consistently has just not stepped up. The stars, particularly, the Mitch Marners, Austin Matthews. You could even throw Tavares into that. They just haven't shown up, and that's been huge in this series. I want to say the Matthews line was outchanced 18-4 in game 3.
Good.
18-4.
And not touching on the stars, TJ Brody and Jake McCabe
they
have
were
not
awful.
been
Oh my God.
good enough in the Florida Panthers series. I believe they're on the ice for all 3 Florida goals, at least 2.
I know they were on. Oh yeah, they were on for at least 2.
Overtime winner, and then I believe both regulations. Not good enough for your shutdown pair. Morgan Riley and Luke Schenn were the best pair for the Maple Leafs this playoff season. So far, we're going to say so far. I'm going to add that asterisk,
Yeah.
Which shocked me because that was the pair I was most worried about. I'll be honest, because I was like, you have a guy who's an anchor in Luke Schenn, who's too slow to be he's the anchor of anchors.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Morgan Riley, who's supposed to be your trailblazer, who sometimes trailblazes a little too far into the corner and then is caught up the ice too much.
Mm-hmm.
And Luke Schenn's rubbed off on Morgan Riley fantastically. Morgan Riley's
we've seen Riley throwing like Luke Schenn style hits.
Exactly. I hope they bring back Luke Schenn just to pair with Morgan Riley, because that's a fun D pairing.
It is worked in a way that I have not seen a D pairing work on this team in a really long time.
But the other 2 D pairs have just gone down the drain,
particularly in this series.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I just don't know what's happened to him. And it's really weird, the Leafs defense core was not one of my worries. I know the Leafs are notoriously mocked for having bad defense, and I get it. They did have a very bad D-core to begin to the middle of the Matthews era. The past 2 years, they have gotten it together. I'm not saying they're a top 5 D-core in the league, but they're deep and they're good. They just don't necessarily have that superstar defenseman that you want, although Morgan Riley can play like it offensively sometimes, like I think he has been in this playoffs. Maybe not superstar, but definitely all-star. And it's the D letting you down. It's the goaltending in this series particular letting you down. And it's the forwards. It's everybody.
The thing about the goaltending for me, I don't think we're not going to throw Joseph Wall into that. I actually thought he got them into overtime in game 3. Like, if it wasn't for him, they were going to lose that in the third period for sure. My God, that Sam Bennett chance between the legs. Wow. Like,
Joseph Woll I said this before. I think Joseph Wool will be the starter of the Toronto Maple Leafs within the next 3 years. I genuinely
Hmm.
believe that. He is so good. He's proved that he can play playoff minutes. I don't care what the numbers say. He was clutch in that game.
Yeah.
Defense just didn't give him anything. You give Sam Reinhart all the time in the world on the overtime winner. You give up a short-handed breakaway, and then you screen your own goalie for a tip. Those 3 goals literally cannot blame on Justin Wall, and then he makes some blockbuster highlight reel saves. Joseph Wool to the backup starting next season. I don't care which one of Samsonov and Murray they get rid of. I'd prefer Murray, if I'm being honest.
Okay,
But like,
no, we do
I know,
care.
I'm
We
kidding.
do
Okay,
care a little bit.
okay. But my point though is that whoever the starter is next year and maybe the year after, Joseph Wool's eventually going to take over.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him start game 4, especially since Samsonov, like, I mean, the collision was bad, and it looks like a shoulder injury. I'd probably feel more comfortable with Joseph Wall coming in and starting, to be honest, because he's healthy and he looked good. Sheldon Keefe even said in his presser after the game, he's ready for this. This team is confident with him there.
I was seeing some reports
So,
saying put Matt Murray in. Wouldn't that be such a great story if Matt Murray goes on a 4-0 run, comes back, and I'm like, he's been sitting in the press box recovering from an injury for what, a month now, a month plus.
yeah.
That would be if Sheldon Keefe hasn't already lost his job, assuming the Leafs lose the series in 4 or 5, he would lose his job putting in Matt Murray, and
Yeah.
Matt Murray
That
gets
would,
shelled.
look, if Matt Murray came in and won 4 straight, I would be, I can't even think of like an adjective to
I don't know what
describe
I'd
how I
do.
would feel. That would be the most unbelievable thing to ever happen in Leaf history.
Hmm.
But no, there's no way. Maybe he'll be the backup. Like
Sure,
maybe. But
sure.
I don't think you can start him. It's either going to be Joseph Wall or maybe Samsonov is fine. Who
Hmm.
knows? But I would like to see Wall start in game 4.
Yeah. And then for game 4, I do think that I think the Toronto Maple Leafs will win game 4 in Florida, not because I have this overwhelming confidence that the Toronto Maple Leafs will come back in this series, but more of the Toronto Maple Leafs will always give you a little bit of hope before crushing your dreams. I think the Leafs lose in 5, gentlemen sweep. I genuinely think they probably come out blistering start, beat Florida 4-1, show what they could have done for the entire series, and then go home on home ice and lose 3-1, 2-0.
Yeah, something like just
Leave their goalie hang out to dry where they get shelled for like 40 shots, and you see Joseph Wool just saying, "Please, for the love of God, help me." And season's a wrap.
Leafs in 7. I say that with no belief that it'll actually happen. But
Yeah. And then one
I
quick thing.
uh,
Sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
I made a tweet after the game saying that Florida, you might have seen it, that like that was the first game 3, Florida Panthers versus Toronto Maple Leafs of the second round, was the first time that the Florida Panthers did not take a single minor penalty all game. And saying that, I'm not blaming the refs at all for this game.
Let's just make this clear here.
The refs
Because
are not the reason the Leafs lost the game. The Leafs lost the game because their 4 core players didn't show up.
Because when I was seeing people like complain about that at the end of the game when it was over, my thought was, I don't give a shit. I'm
Yeah,
like, yeah, it's weird. It's really weird. Don't get me wrong. Wes McCauley, oh, whatever. It's not why the Leafs lost. The
No,
Leafs
and
were dog shit.
I just tweeted that because I was like, that's a stat. I still haven't seen that stat anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's just a weird anomaly stat. I made a video about it. And in the video, I was like, that's not why the Leafs lost. The Leafs lost because they deserve to lose.
Mm-hmm.
The Leafs didn't lose because of the refs. However, while they did not deserve to lose because of the refs, I refuse to believe that there's not a single infraction that just went uncalled for the Florida Panthers. You know what I mean? It's like they let them play, but I personally hate when they let them play because at the end of the day, that just benefits the team that just likes to do a lot more illegal hockey stuff. And I'm not
Which
saying
is
that's
what
happened
Florida's
in
been
this
doing
game.
all series, just to be clear.
And then they were getting called for it in games 1 and 2. The Leafs did not capitalize.
Well, wait. They weren't getting called for all of it.
No, of course.
We haven't even talked about Matthew Nyes yet.
No. And look, again, the refs are not the reason why the Leafs are losing this series. but that's still weird. Like,
It
I
is.
think
It is weird.
two things can be true. Leafs are not losing because the refs, their guys aren't showing up. Really weird that the Florida Panthers, second most penalized team in the league, did not get a single minor penalty in that game.
Yeah, I want to sort of end this conversation on just this one last note. Now that I've been reminded of the Matthew Nyes thing, um, I was not hoping that a Leaf player would like try and like intentionally injure Sam Bennett or anything like that. But what I was looking for was some sort of response. We didn't see it in game 2 after he committed the infraction. Game 4, I saw nothing. No
Game
hit,
3.
nothing. What did you get these like guys like Noah Lachari, Luke Shen, and not to like totally rag on those guys because they've been great in Leaf uniforms. Ryan O'Reilly even like somebody like throw a cross check, go at the guy. The guy intentionally injured your best rookie, a guy who since he's been taken out of the lineup, apparently the Leafs really need him because they've looked terrible. It's just really disheartening to see no response
And then from the NHL
to a guy headlocking a rookie and slamming his head into the ice.
And then for the people, the NHL, first of all, the NHL player safety is a joke.
Yeah.
That goes without saying. To the people who are going to say that we need to man up and that we need to go watch golf, look, for the Jacob Trouba hit, sure, have your cup of tea. I don't like
Whatever.
it, but it's within the confines of the rules. And what world is pulling off a WWE wrestling move that is scripted legal in the NHL? It's not. That's literally not a hockey play.
No. But Tim Peel said on Twitter that it's okay.
Whatever.
So it must be
Tim Peel.
You remember the guy that lost his job for we all know about that. Choke league anyway.
But yeah, just if it was a cross check and you got cross checked into the boards and you want to say toughen up, I'd say you are a lunatic. But whatever, it was a hit. That wasn't a hit. That was wrestling, choke slamming. That shouldn't be in the game. And then the Sam Bennett cross check to the head of Michael Bunting. A second thing. That's the only thing he got fined for from NHL player safety. Again, we don't have to say much about that. Matthews did the exact same thing to Dahlin a few years ago.
And he got suspended for 3 games. 3 games? 2 or 3 games. I don't remember.
More than one.
I mean, the NHL at least acknowledged that was illegal. He cross-checked him in the neck.
Yeah, and then Sam Bennett should not have played in yesterday's game. And if Sam Bennett does not play in yesterday's game, the Leafs probably still lose. I'd give it a 90% shot that the Leafs still lose yesterday's game. But like I said, I think of it with nuance. Two things can be true. Sam Bennett should have been suspended. Those aren't hockey plays. Cross-stretching a dude in the back of the neck when he doesn't have the puck near him is not a hockey play. WWE slamming a dude isn't a hockey play. And the Leafs still deserve to lose. They deserve to lose this series. The Leafs are probably losing in 4. I'm saying 5. Good night. Good night, Toronto.
Good night. Show's over.
Yeah. Anyways, Leon Draisaitl's having himself a playoffs. 13 goals so far. As long as the Edmonton Oilers don't completely blow it and lose in 5 to the Vegas Golden Knights, the Edmonton Oilers and Leon Draisaitl could set a new playoff record. Current playoff record for most goals scored is 19. I expect them to break it, assuming the Edmonton Oilers make the Western Conference Finals. They're currently down 2-1 in their series. They're down 5-1 in the game. I'm just going to say 2-1 in the series. They're down 2-1 in the series. I still expect the Edmonton Oilers to win against Vegas. Vegas is definitely making it a lot tougher than I expected. I have been discrediting Vegas a lot and Carolina. That's on me.
Mm-hmm.
That'll probably be the Stanley Cup Finals. Those are the two teams I really were just called frauds. But that's besides the point.
Yeah. By the way, New Jersey, just a note on the Carolina-New Jersey series. Man, New Jersey's really, really hammering home this strategy of just sleeping through games 1 and 2 and then destroying their opponents after that.
They like lull them into a sense of security and then just sweep the rug under them. And one of the most tragic things is Jack Hughes lost a tooth. His pretty boy smile is gone.
Oh,
All the residents
that's
in
the
New
worst news
Jersey.
I've heard all week. The
I
Leafs
know.
are down 3-0, and that's the worst news I've heard all week.
I can't believe it. I still haven't seen photos of him. I think the New Jersey Devils have wiped it off the internet.
Yeah, like yeah. Ugh, horrible. Emergency dental surgery needed.
Mm, mm, mm. But Leon Draisaitl's having himself a very good playoffs.
Great segue. Yeah, Leon, it's goofy. It's completely goofy what he's doing. He did the Austin Matthews thing, scoring 4 goals in a game where they lost. And in his presser, he was pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, that's not how we play. That's not how we play as a team. And yeah, I mean, that's the attitude you want from a guy who is scoring most of your goals right now. Didn't he score 2 goals in game 2 as well?
Mm-hmm.
After that,
Mm-hmm.
he is having a record-setting playoffs. It feels like we're repeating ourselves when we're talking about, the likes of him and McDavid just setting records that are 100 years old, like once a week. It almost seems like, yeah, it's amazing what can happen with your team when your stars show up.
Mm-hmm.
Not only show up, like just
Play
are
up to their
otherworldly
standards.
when it matters.
And then I've seen some dialogue that Connor McDavid is underperforming for the Edmonton Oilers in these playoffs. I want to put that to bed. Connor McDavid's having a great playoffs. He's not maybe performing as well as he did when he went just absolute galaxy mode last year.
Yeah.
And maybe he's not scoring at an almost 2 point per game pace like he did during the regular season. Being that dominant. But guess what? Leon Draisaitl is. And Connor McDavid's always going to be a threat to score on the ice. He has such a nice shorthanded goal in game 2. Connor McDavid's fine. If Edmonton Oilers lose this series, it's not because Connor McDavid didn't score 30 points in 7 games or whatever. And I just think it's silly blaming Connor McDavid for the Edmonton Oilers' faults. Because I don't know what's going on with Edmonton. I don't know why they lost game 1. I don't know why they're losing by so much against Vegas in game 3. Stuart Skinner made some huge saves in game 3, but then he also let in some goals.
They're getting shelled in game 3, honestly. They haven't looked good at all.
They haven't. And Stuart Skinner did his best. He made 3 back-to-back highlight reel saves before letting in 2, and it's at that point it's like the dam's gonna break eventually.
Yeah.
And I guess it comes back to the Edmonton Oilers defense. We know that the Edmonton Oilers defense hasn't been their strong suit. Matthias Ekholm's great. Darnell Nurse is pretty good. Evan Bouchard, power play specialist. And when you go from there, you got Desharnais, Cody Ceci, and
yeah, they've I will say about Vegas, I think they proved that they know how to play like in the playoffs. I know.
Yeah.
I know you were obviously very low on them going into the playoffs, and I understand the reasoning behind that. But man, they're playing great. They really have been through 3 games against the Oilers. And even though, they kind of got killed in game 2, but I think they have the team to I can totally see them beating Edmonton in this round. I still do rate Edmonton a little bit higher, especially now that Warren Brossoit is injured. He left this game early. Aiden Hill is in there right now. We might see Jonathan Quick in this series, which is kind of insane.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think Vegas has been really good. I still think Edmonton will pull it out, but it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in game 4. I think Edmonton will definitely respond to this loss, though.
Yeah. 2 minutes. Quickly touch on one thing. Seattle Kraken are looking more and more legit, more and more threatening, more and more like we could see a Stanley Cup final playing in Seattle.
Crazy.
And look, if the Seattle Kraken make the Stanley Cup finals, I'll be so happy. I will do my best to go down to a game. The Seattle Kraken are up against the Dallas Stars. They're up against my cup pick. I thought Dallas was going to go all the way this year. They still can. But the Seattle Kraken have so much depth, so much talented depth. They're doing it without McCann. I believe he's still injured. They're doing it without Matty Beniers putting up insane numbers. Grubauer is playing amazing while Ottinger's turning into a pumpkin.
Man, I'm shocked. Jake Ottinger was shocking in game 3. He was awful. Like, I could not really believe what I was even watching. It seemed like after he gave up the first few goals, he just kind of gave up and coasted for the rest of the game.
And in saying that, Jake Ottinger can still steal the next 3 games.
Yeah, he's
Jake Ottinger. It's weird. It's just, I guess maybe maybe he gets down on himself if he lets in 2 or 3 quick goals. That might be it. That just might be it. But the Seattle Kraken have at least shown to the NHL that they're serious and they could be a Stanley Cup contender. If not this year, definitely next year. Seattle's a beautiful city. They're going to be a good free agent destination.
Yeah.
And they got Shane Wright coming next year. I'm excited to see where that pans out.
Hopefully.
And are we good to call it?
I think so.
All right. Well, that's been a shorter episode of Without Warning. I've been Alex with Ryan. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll catch you very, very soon. Hopefully, Leafs are still in it.